Welcome back to Spiked Coffee and Sarcasm with Chris and Van. We do that every single time. Every single time we just stare at each other.
I wonder how it would be if we were in the same room. I mean, really, would we?
I think it would be 100% better. 150% better.
I'm going to go with, I agree with you on that. I think that we would probably, it would be a lot better. Yeah, maybe I'll come visit you.
Yeah.
And then we can do a recording. Or you could come visit me. You don't like Mayberry?
No, I don't have anything against Mayberry. I can't go there in the winter because I'm not coming there when it snows. And I don't want to come there right now because it's humid and I don't like humidity. I hate humidity just about as much as I hate the snow. So,
wow. Wow. Okay then. You know what popped up in my Facebook memories?
What?
When I had posted on my Facebook memories, I posted that I was getting ready to go for a girls' weekend away, and it was in 2009. So it was 9 years ago that I was going for this girls' weekend away, and I was headed to the cities.
That must have been that must have been the first concert. That must have been like the very first one.
No, 2008 was the very first one. 2009 was when you guys all surprised me.
Yeah, but 9 years ago would have been 2008, right?
9 years ago would have been 2009.
Oh yeah, we're in 2008.
10 years ago would have been 2008.
Duh. Hey, I have never claimed to be good at math. I've always claimed to not be good at math. So that's my
Amen,
excuse.
sister. Virtual high five.
Right? So we got our first email. Yay!
Woo, woo.
I was pretty excited about it.
Thank you, all of our listeners.
Yeah, all of our listener. Her name was Jennifer, and like a dope, I responded back to her, but I did not ask for any more information about her, like where she's from. In her email, she had asked for our advice, because apparently we sound like we know what we're doing, which, unbeknownst to me, I don't.
Another high five. We got them all fooled,
right?
man. We got them all fooled. High five.
Yeah.
Okay.
She has asked for our advice on something, and I didn't ask for any details like a dummy. We're just kind of...
Hey, you live in...
Yeah, I know. We're just kind of flying by the seat of our pants on this one. But her email had asked for our advice because she caught her son smoking marijuana with a friend, and she didn't know what she should do. I'm hoping that by the time she hears this that it's been resolved and everything's okay.
Right.
But she had asked for what we would do, I guess, as mothers and mothers of teenagers, because I would only assume that her son is probably teenage age or preteen age.
Right.
Is what I'm assuming. I don't know. Do you want to go first with your advice, or do you want me to go first with my advice?
You know what? I'll go.
Okay.
Here's my opinion.
Yeah, these are
on that whole.
These are just our opinions. We are in no way therapists. We are not licensed psychologists. We don't have any. I mean, we are just moms, and we
are unprofessional in that regard in every way,
yes.
shape, and form. We really, truly do not have anything but our own parental experiences.
Yes. So, this will be just strictly what we would do as parents. And I kind of have a feeling that we might differ a little bit on this. I think we're going to agree for the most part, but I think we are going to differ on how we both would handle this situation had it happened to us. So, with that being said... Go ahead.
Okay, so I thought about this a lot, especially now that my kids are older and they are at that age where something like that could happen. You get the original or the regular, what's the word I'm looking for? The stigma attached to pot and all that.
Yes. Yes.
The moment you think about pot, it's, oh my gosh, it's a drug. Yep. Here in the last few years, since they started legalizing it for medical uses and stuff like that, the more I educate myself on it, and especially for me having MS and with Mark having a lot of back problems. Let's just say that 10 years ago, if this would have happened, I would have absolutely 100% been, oh my gosh, no way. Yeah. Now, I don't look at it as being a drug per se. That doesn't mean I don't think that could lead to something else. I still believe that it may be a gateway to bigger and scarier things. Okay. But pot itself to me, or marijuana, to be politically correct, marijuana to me is more helpful than hurtful. I would rather, if my kids would try any kind of drugs, I would rather it be pot or marijuana. I would rather them only do that. It's natural.
Yeah.
It grows. It's an all natural thing. So for me personally, I don't look at it as being a drug. It's non-addictive. It's got a lot of helpful properties. It's safer than smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol. I truly feel that way. I would rather them be smoking that than smoking cigarettes. Or if they're going to choose to do something to alter their mental status, then I would rather them smoke that than to drink or any other drug. So,
okay.
But 10 years ago, had I walked in and caught one of my kids doing that with their friends, that's not, I think I would have had a stroke. I would have really had a hard time with that.
Yeah.
Because it's not, you always, as a parent, you always hope your kids don't do that. You hope that they're making the right choices. You hope that they're doing the right thing. And when you think about marijuana, you instantly think about drugs. And that's exactly where my mind would go is, oh my gosh, if they're doing that, what else are they doing? For
sure.
So, yes, I would be alarmed. But I've sat down and had this conversation several times with my children about smoking and drinking and doing other drugs, and that I would prefer them not to do that kind of stuff.
For sure.
But that is safer than, in my opinion, that is safer than any of the other options, quote unquote, out there if you're going to be doing something you're not supposed to.
Okay.
To me, at least it was only marijuana and not something worse. But that's a case-by-case basis. Like I said, it could be a gateway drug to something harder or something scarier or something more addictive. And that part of it does scare me.
Well, and I understand why that scares you, because you do have some of that other more harder stuff. You have dealt with some of that in your family. I have
experience with that.
So I can totally understand that. And I do agree for the most part with you on the stigma of marijuana and how, there's a lot of, everybody thinks that what is being used for medical purposes is the stuff that gets you high. And that is untrue. Right. And that is where a lot of the misconception comes in. Now, I'm assuming that Jennifer's son was smoking the stuff that gets him high, because duh. He's a teenager. Why would you want to do it any other way? I feel the same. Whoa, she just dropped me.
Did that hurt?
Yeah, it hurt. I went face down. I definitely feel the same way that you do. If my children were going to use any kind of drug, I would want it to be marijuana over anything else. I'm not sure I fully believe that it is a gateway to other stuff. I definitely think that it could, but I don't know how much I believe that it actually is. Addiction really kind of depends on a person's personality. You either have an addictive personality or you don't have an addictive personality. I have been lucky enough to not have an addictive personality. I've never been addicted to anything, well, except for New Kids on the Block, but, who wouldn't?
That's a healthy
thing. That's a healthy addiction. I'm like you. I think that if it had been a few years ago, not knowing what I know now, my reaction to catching my child doing this would definitely be different than it would be if I were to catch him tomorrow. I'm like you, I've had conversations, Nathan's getting ready to go into high school, so we will be having that conversation again. And it's, it's doubly scary for me when it comes to Nathan, because he does have seizures. And there is a part of marijuana that has been shown to help treat seizures. And for that, I'm grateful. So for me, if I were to catch him doing that, it's kind of like, there could be worse things. Like, this could actually help him. What do I want him to have, the part where he's getting high and altering his mental state? No. But it could potentially help him with the other things that are going on. So,
Exactly.
I think
And I'm sorry, go
I
ahead.
think my advice to Jennifer as far as how to approach this with her son and how to move on from it or deal with it down the road, because I can guarantee you if he's done it once, this may not have been the first time he's done it, or if this was the first time he's done it, he will do it again. This, call it what you will, but it is a part of life. I never actually tried it when I was a teenager or as an adult. I've never smoked marijuana. That is just a personal choice of my own. I definitely had been around it as a teenager. It had been offered to me as a teenager. I hung out with people who smoked it all the time. But for me, and I've always been this way, I don't like not knowing what's going on around me. So I try really hard to just keep me in a mental state where I know what's going on. I don't, I am a social drinker. I do drink, but I don't drink to the point where I don't know what's going on around me. I have done that in the past, obviously, when I'm younger and stupid and naive, but I don't do that now. So my advice, I think, to Jennifer would be communication. And I think you would agree. We are very open with our children. We talk about things that some parents don't talk about and keep as taboo, which in my opinion, I think you are doing it's a disadvantage to your children where you think a disservice. Thank you. That was the word I was looking for. I think by keeping things from them and trying to keep them from what's going on in the real world is not a good thing, because if that happens, if you do that, then when they get out on their own and you can't be there to watch them all the time because you won't be able to, they are going to want to try these things that you have kept secret from them because they don't know what's going on. They don't know the risks. They don't know what the side effects, the consequences. They don't know any of that because you have chosen not to talk to them about it. And in my opinion, as a mother, I have chosen to not do that with my children. I am very open with them. We talk about a lot of stuff. Does not mean that I condone any of it. It just means that it's out there. They know that I know about it. So
you don't play oblivious. No. You're not oblivious to the fact that there's things that could happen that you don't agree with, and you want to educate your kids, and that's good. Absolutely.
I don't. Sex is not something that is off limits in my house. Sex talk, I should say.
Of course.
And, they know, hopefully, that they can come and talk to me about anything. And I think for Jennifer's sake, instead of, I don't know what her reaction was when she caught them. So it's hard to know where things are at. But I think that sitting down and having a adult conversation, a civil conversation, lay it all out there. Tell him what the effects are of marijuana. Let him know what the consequences are if you get caught with it, if you get caught driving with it, if you get pulled over and you haven't been drinking but you've been smoking marijuana, that is still a DUI. So there are still consequences to it. It's not heroin, it's not cocaine, it's not anything hard like that, but there are still consequences to smoking it. And I think that you just need to be honest. Honest and open, I believe, is always the best policy with kids, because they have to know that you are human. You don't have to be their friend, but you are their parent, and you need to let them know that this stuff is out there. And it can hurt you, and it can change your life forever if you decide to do this. So just my advice, I guess, is communicate. Talk until you can't talk no more. Even if he sits there and rolls his eyes at you and tells you that you're dumb, tells you that you're stupid, you don't know what you're talking about, keep talking, because I guarantee you it is going in, it is sticking, and when he's in a situation where he's going to be tempted with it again, he may just hear that little mom voice in his head, and he may make the decision not to do it. Communicate. That would be my advice to Jennifer. Just communicate. Talk to him.
And I should clarify something. When I said about the gateway thing, I agree with you that it doesn't have to be. It isn't always. I do believe there's people out there who do that and nothing else, or who have tried it and thought,
yeah,
and have never done it
for
again. Sure. It truly depends on exactly what you said. It's the person's personality. And if to Jennifer, if your son has the type of personality where he is curious and wants to try these different things, then that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Like, I have never been the type of person that wanted to do that and then go on and do other stuff. I have tried it before. It wasn't that big of a deal for me. So it's not something I do every single day, or even, it's been years and years. I mean, it was one of those things in school.
Yeah.
So, or right after school, I guess. It was after high school, I think. Anyway, I agree with you. It's not one of those things. It's not most definitely a gateway drug. It can be, or it may not be. So, like Van said, Jennifer, it depends on your kid's personality too. You know him better than anybody else does, so you know the kind of approach to take. So I agree. Communication, talk until you're blue in the face, because he needs to hear it even if he doesn't want to.
Yeah, that's the...
And it's important.
That's the thing I'm learning about having a teenager. And I also remember it when I was a teenager, too. It's, your parents just talked and you were like, yeah, whatever. But there were times I can remember hearing my dad in the back of my head when I'm in a situation, and whatever he told me, it was right there. And it helped me make decisions on either to do something or not to do something. So they do listen. They will tell you that you're the dumbest person alive most of the time, but still just keep talking. I lecture Nathan probably more than I probably need to, but
Sure.
whatever. So
I agree with that.
So hopefully that helps, Jennifer, and please send us another email after you hear this and let us know what's going on and how things are going, and that if we helped at all, hopefully.
Yeah, I'd love to know how it works out.
I definitely would too, and make sure that everything is okay, because kids are hard. Let's just be real.
Kids are hard.
Okay.
Yeah. But teenagers are a breed of their own. They are definitely different, and it is a lot harder.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I'm not ready.
Anyway, thanks.
I'm not ready.
Thank you for that, too, by the way, for asking, because, it's nice to know that we're not alone, that other kids out there are experiencing the same thing, and, someday our kids may go down that road, and we have to think about that for ourselves, too.
Yeah.
So it's good to know we're not alone.
Nope. Yes, we're not. Nobody is alone. Nobody is alone.
Right.
So, I guess now I got an idea, and I don't remember where. I think I was listening to another podcast, to be honest, and they had mentioned this, and I thought, oh, that would be a good one for us, because we've known each other through the first job we got, through what we're doing now. Yeah. So I thought that, let's talk about what our first job was and kind of our job history, I suppose, and what we've done throughout our lives. I know you've had a lot more jobs than I have.
Yeah.
I tend to stick to things for several years, so I don't have that much of a job history, but we did have to get our first jobs while we were in our senior year of high school, because we did what they called HERO at the time, Home Economics Related Occupations. Is that what it stood for? Wow, look at me.
Yeah, but I got a job before that. I was working my sophomore year.
Well,
I got my first job when I turned 16.
Yeah.
We did that
We
together,
did that
didn't
across
we?
the street from the school, right? That telemarketing crap, which was the worst thing ever. It wasn't my worst job. We'll talk about what my worst job was. But that was, I don't know how people do that day in and day out. That is a horrible, horrible job. Telemarketing, yes, they pay you good, and there's a reason for that, because it sucks. It sucks.
You know, it's funny because I was thinking back when we got that job. I worked there for 3 months.
I didn't. I think I was there a week.
I think you were there a week too. I don't think that you stayed for very long. But this first job, when I got that job, I remember I got in trouble there because at that time when you did telemarketing, they would have people who monitored your phone calls by, remember the old phones that had the push button dials? They were huge.
Yeah.
You know, they weren't little cell phones. Okay, so the way that they monitored is they were, each one of them, any of our bosses could pick up a line and hook into yours, and they could hear what you were saying and what the customers was saying. And this one particular day, I happened to have the phone in my hand. I wasn't talking to a customer, but I was getting ready to dial. And my boss, I don't know why I remember his name was Chad. I don't know why I know that. But
hey, that's my fake boyfriend's name.
Him and I were talking, and he said something about me he goes, call the next customer. And I said, no, I'd rather just sit here and earn my $5.50 an hour than talk on the phone, is what I said.
Sarcastic.
And I had it in my hand. Oh, busted. The big boss happened to be listening, and he come out, he called us both in front of everybody. Now, you have to kind of visualize the way this room was set up. I don't know if you remember, but it was like a big conference room.
Yeah, it was huge.
And there was probably 25 people in each side of it, sitting at row desks, you know?
I remember it.
And so there had to have been 50 to 60 people in the room at the time when this guy walked out of the office and went, Crystal Fife, get in my office. And so me and Chad went into the office and we sat down while this guy railed me about how I could do that and how I could say that. And Chad just let him go. He never defended me or anything. They gave me the rest of the night off after that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. First time I ever got in trouble at work. And I worked there for 3 months, and then, I was done.
Yeah, I can remember sitting there, and I remember somebody was listening to me, because they would walk around with a headset, and they could just plug it right into the phone, had a cord, and they could plug it right into the phone. And I remember, and you had your script in front of you, and you couldn't deter from that script in any way, shape, or form. And I can
Nope, and we were selling on-the-town books. Those on the town or whatever they were called.
Yeah, I don't remember what we were. I don't remember that part, but no, I was there a week, so I can't really. But I can remember being on the phone with someone. It was a gentleman. It was a guy, and he asked me. He said, "Are you reading off of a script right now?" And I kind of looked up at the person who was monitoring me, and I'm like, "Okay, now what do you do? Do I say yes?
Right?
Because."
I don't see that in my script. Where am I supposed to answer that question?
Exactly. Yeah, I didn't like that job at all. That was just, no, I would never, I don't care how desperate I'd be, I would never be a telemarketer because
Me either.
I've yelled at them myself, so I know that they get yelled at a lot.
And there are some people who just have it in them to do that kind of work, and they do it well. There was a guy that I worked with there who had been there for 10 years. He worked his way through college doing telemarketing, and he made really good money. And he just was that type of person he was a telemarketer. I'm not.
No, I'm not
that person. I'm not. No.
I'm not either. I'm not either. So when we were in school, now that we've talked about the first job that I don't really consider my first job because I was only there a week. So my actual first job that I got was at Kentucky Fried Chicken. And
I remember.
I worked there for, I think I tried to calculate the years of my jobs, and I think I got it down pretty accurate. But I was there, we probably got that job in 1991 because we graduated in 92. Yeah. And I was there until at least 95 or partly into 96. So I was there for 4.5 years.
That's so crazy to me.
Yeah, I was being trained for shift supervisor kind of towards the end, and then I got held up at gunpoint. some guy came in.
I forgot about this.
Some guy came in and pulled out a gun, which we found out later was a cap gun. It wasn't even a real gun. But nonetheless, it was still a scary situation. And I think I quit pretty much shortly after that. I was like, I really don't want to do this anymore. I'm kind of over it now.
I can't. I totally forgot.
Yeah, I had to do, like, the cops came over and I had to, like, look at mug shots and everything. It was crazy. It was crazy. It was scary.
How scary?
It was scary, but it was definitely crazy. But yeah, I worked at good old KFC for a good 4.5 years. And that's why my ass is probably big, because them biscuits are good. I'm just saying.
They are. So since you worked at KFC for so long, did you eat there a lot? I mean, I know you ate there while you worked there, but after you left there, did you eat there often, or did you find that it just wasn't as appealing?
No, I did not. It took me a long time to eat there, and even to this day, I don't really go there very often. Well, there's not very many of them left in Arizona. Like, they're not very popular anymore. But there are times where I'm like, I could really go for some mashed potatoes and gravy, because I know how they're made.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just add water. It's powder and you add water, basically, is what the mashed potatoes and gravy is. I will never, ever, ever eat the coleslaw, because I do know how that's made.
Yeah.
So I won't eat that. But, for the most part, I can eat it. It's not my first choice, but I'll eat it if it's, the only option.
Okay, so one of the jobs that I had right after, like, I worked at TMI and then I worked at Shalotsky's.
I remember Shalotsky's. Right there on Priest and Broadway. Is it Priest?
No, it was because I lived on Southern and
Priest and Southern. That's right. That's right. Right across from the Peterson house.
Yes. I love Shalotsky's.
I do too.
Everything about them was really good. They had really good food. In fact, that's the first time there was a man that worked there. He was gay. And he one time said to me, him and I got along so well. He was so funny. And he said to me one time, this was the first time I'd ever been put in my place by him. He says, girlfriend, I will read you like a book and turn the page. And he snapped his fingers, and I was like, wow. It was crazy funny.
That's fantastic.
But yeah, I worked. That was the summer before school, before our senior year started. So I worked there before I did the hero stuff. After I started working after I started our senior year and we had to get a job, I started working somewhere else. And I wound up making them change the rules.
That Shalotsky's is actually still there. It's still...
Is it really? You're kidding.
No, it's still there. It's still there.
Huh, that's crazy.
Yeah. So, I'm going to kind of run down my work history because it's not very long. It's pretty short.
Oh gosh, we'd be here all night if I talked about mine.
If we talked about every job you had, this would be a 2-hour episode. So after KFC, I worked at a call center. It was called MicroAge at the time, and it was
I remember that too.
It was an inbound call center, and for the most part, for most of the time I was there, we took inbound calls. It was third-party verification for AT&T, I think. Basically, somebody from AT&T had a customer on the line and they were selling them something and they had to call us so we could verify with the customer that this is what they wanted to do, was basically what it was. So they would call into us and we would have a script and we would go through the motions and, it was a cake job. There were times where we'd have downtime and we were coloring. People were doing homework.
Coloring?
Yeah, we had color books and crayons, and we colored all the time. Played games. Like, it was a cake job, and I really liked that job.
How long were you there, did you say? I'm sorry, you said that already.
I think I was there from about 96 to 99. So I was there for a good couple years.
Ahead.
So towards the end of my career there, the company was trying to stay afloat, and so they had an agreement with Fredericks of Hollywood, and we took calls, catalog calls, people who wanted to call in and order stuff from the catalog. That was the worst job ever. It was horrible. My very first call I took after training was a guy that we ended up nicknaming the Pink Baby Doll guy, because every time he'd call in, he wanted to talk about pink baby dolls, which is a piece of lingerie. And my very first call with him, he was pleasuring himself as I was talking to him.
Awkward.
Yeah, and my boss at the time called me on the other line. Like, I'm on the phone with this guy, totally oblivious to what's going on. I'm just following the script. It was like probably my first call. She calls me on the other line, and I have to put this guy on hold. And I pick up the phone to my boss, and she goes, you need to hang up, get back on the line and hang up the phone. And I'm like, why? You just need to hang up the phone. So I get back on the line with the guy, and I disconnect the call. And then they proceed to tell me that that's what he was doing. And I was like, oh, really?
How did they know? I mean, do you think back now and hear and know now that it was obvious?
Yes.
Or
yes.
Was it you just were oblivious because you didn't expect
I
it?
I just was oblivious.
Because that would be me.
Yeah. No, I was just oblivious. Like, it was my first call, so I was just trying to do it good. I was just trying to do it well. I wasn't paying attention, and my boss just happened to be listening to that call, and she was like, oh, I don't think so. So there were some things that were okay about the job. Like, we would get guys that would call in that had like foot fetishes, and they just wanted to talk about the shoes, like the 6-inch stilettos. And then we also had guys that called in that were drag queens, and they needed to know about the fake boobs and what size will fit them, because they're guys, and so those were always fun calls.
And, you think about it, and, like, to you and I, when we hear anything Fredericks of Hollywood or anything like that, that's just, it's an adult store. Mm-hmm. But some people, like you were saying, the drag queens, this is where they order their livelihood. Yep. This is where they order stuff for what they do for a living.
And they were,
so that's so
they
funny.
were the nicest people. The nicest people.
I'm sure.
Like, you just, yeah. So that was a horrible job. And those were times where I worked like 4 days a week, but it was 12-hour days, so it was like 6 to 6. Oh God, never ever again. That was horrible. So that was my experience at Microage. And then I went on to work at Staples, and I was there.
I remember Staples.
From about 99 to 2001, I think, somewhere around there. So I worked at one close to home. It was on Elliott and Baseline, I-10. I guess it's Baseline. And I was there for a long time. I ended up like just being like the master of the copy center. Like, I could copy anything, fix any copier, work the front desk. Like, people could walk into there, and I'd be working the front desk, and they'd walk in and say, hey, do you know where, Scotch tape is? And I could tell them exactly what aisle it was on, what side of the aisle, and what shelf it was on. Like, I knew that Staples left, right. It was a good job until...
You were the it girl. Doesn't Staples have that? The easy girl. The easy button
they
girl?
didn't have the easy button back then, so I was not easy back then.
Well, I know that, but that's what you would be today.
Well, that's true.
You just hit the easy button, and Van would be on the phone.
Yeah,
or at your service.
Yeah. And then I ended up becoming the bookkeeper too, so I would count all the drawers and everything at the beginning of the day and the end of the day, depending on what my schedule was. I trained front-end managers, and I think I was making $8 an hour, something like that.
Right.
And then...
That's crazy to me.
Something went wrong at the store I was at, and I don't remember for the life of me what happened, but I got transferred to another store at Central and Osborne.
Yep, that's the one I visited you at, because I worked in South Phoenix.
Yeah, and I had to drive a long way in my little purple roller skate car, which was a stick shift, mind you. My leg cramped on a daily basis going through that traffic. But my boss at that store, we did not get along. I did not like this man, and the reason I did not like this man was because he worked at Staples during the day, and at night he spent nights and weekends in jail for a DUI. And I was like... And he was making probably 5 times as much as I was. and I knew more than him. So it was kind of one of those things where you're like, this is too far of a drive for me to want to keep doing this. So
was he like a work furlough kind of thing? Like he... Seriously,
I'm dead serious.
And he was a manager?
And he was a manager. He was the general manager of that Staples store.
Oh, that's tragic.
And that was...
I'm not stereotyping or anything, but seriously.
Seriously.
I mean, you're on work furlough. You're supposed to be setting a good example.
Oh, no, he was an ass.
And
He was an asshole. He was an asshole. I'll say it until the day I die. He was a jerk. And that was also the store where I first worked with my first gay friend. Like, one of the girls I worked with was a lesbian, and she was a great person. We were great friends, but that was my first, like, person that I knew that was in a gay relationship.
Right. Okay.
One of my first experiences there. And then after Staples, I went to Real Inc., which was an appraisal management company, and I worked there until I had my first son in 2004. Then I didn't go back to work for 6 years, and then I got divorced. And then I went to Chase Bank, and I was there for 5 years. And then I left because it became hostile and toxic. And and a long drive. I didn't want to do it anymore. And now I am currently at Cascade, and that's where I am right now. Oh, and by the way, I asked my boss last week. I told her that I wanted to be promoted. I forgot. I haven't been able to tell you that yet because we haven't talked. She knows that I want to be promoted to a senior processor, which... I swore I would never do again. I really don't want to look for a new job. I really don't.
I don't blame
I'm
you.
not unhappy where I'm at. I'm really not unhappy. It's close to home. It's a good company. I work with good people. I'm just not making enough money. So the next logical step is to be promoted.
Yeah, good for you.
It's kind of conquering a fear of mine because I had a bad experience at Chase, as you know, and swore I would never do it again. But I have to get over this mentality of what happened at Chase, because this isn't Chase. This is a different situation. Right. It's kind of the same job, but way different. And I just need to get over this fear. And if I never try, it may not work. I may get in and I may suck and I may not like it and I may have to end up going somewhere else anyway. But I won't know that unless I try. Or it could end up being something really great. You just never know till you try. She was very excited. She was very supportive. She did give me a very nice compliment about how I'm doing in my current position. That was a nice little boost to my ego, but I took it with, humility and said thank you. But anyway, so that's my job history. Wasn't that exciting? I'm sure that
was super exciting. It was the best part of that whole thing was when you told me about your boss and the promotion. I'm very proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
I'm serious because I know exactly what you're talking about. I know that whole story, and I know how hard that was for you to do that. So good for you.
Thanks.
I didn't get the chance, since we're on that topic, I didn't get the chance to tell you that something similar happened to me last week as well. But I wasn't looking for a new job, but I had, the way that my position works in the company that I work for is I'm part of a support ring. So we've got the production staff or the production group or the workers that actually build the product. I mean, they're the experts and they know everything. Then they've got the support ring, which is like me and quality and the quality seniors who are they're one step above production. That's who production goes to if they have a quality question. And then if the quality seniors can't answer it, then they come to us, the quality techs. We've also got like the engineering techs and the engineers and R&D and the machining guys and the custom equipment guy. I mean, there's a whole bunch of people that are part of the support ring. And one of the problems that we were having was one of the guys that works another department is our representative for when we have something, we go to him. And I don't necessarily always get along with this guy.
Is this the one that makes you? Is this the one that drove you to drink?
Yep, this would be the one. Okay, so we had this issue with one of our products. There was a new process going on, and there was a problem with the process. It was causing a screw to get screwed in and hit another screw. So they wanted to,
Sorry.
they wanted to.
I was trying not to.
They wanted to figure out a new way to do it. So they gave me the task of calling up our R&D guy and saying, look, we have a problem. So that's what I did, and I was waiting for him to call me back. Well, the next day, he had showed up to one of our meetings with that particular group. It was all of our departments. In each of our departments, they're broken down into cells, and the one cell that was having this problem with screws and the whatever, it was causing problems. It was that cell that was having the meeting, and the R&D guy showed up to that meeting.
Okay.
Now, mind you, the day before, I left a message for him to call me, and I haven't heard anything yet. So I had told the product group manager, who is above all of our products, he is the main guy. I told him I was waiting for a phone call back from him. He said, okay. The R&D guy shows up, and they started talking about exactly what I was waiting for a phone call on, and I had no idea what they were talking about. So after he left, I walked up to the product group manager, and I said, did he talk to you about this? And he said, oh yes, he caught me yesterday after the day had ended. He caught me and talked to me about this, and he explained to me what was going on. And I said, he never even returned my phone call. I didn't even know that there was some plan in place. Basically, they'd worked it all out, but didn't tell me about it.
That's nice.
Later in the afternoon, the product group manager, he called me in, and I told him, I said, I didn't mean to be unprofessional in there. I said, I really want him to respect me and at least give me the courtesy of a phone call. And the guy was telling me, he says, well, that's what I'm emailing him right now. Make sure you keep Crystal in the loop. And I said, am I doing something wrong? Because I would like to know, if I'm doing it wrong, I would like to know how to fix it. He goes, no, I'm very grateful for the hard work you're doing. You're quick with your answers, you research, you find the right answer, your feedback is great, you get right back to us. And he basically was doing the same thing, complimenting me, and I walked out of his office with a big smile on my face, because I thought, Mark tells me all the time I'm amazing and I do a great job, and him and I work at the same place, so when he says it's Mark, and he's biased, and I know that he's not going to just lie to me, but he's definitely going to try and make me feel better. This other guy he's not even my boss, so he don't have to make me feel better. He doesn't have to do anything. But to know that I was appreciated was really was...
It's validating.
An ego boost.
Yeah.
Yes, it is validating. That's the best word for it. It was so great to hear him say that, because I really needed to know that.
Well,
I mean, we're in a process right now where they're trying to figure out how to make our score go from what it is to a couple points higher. So that was a step in the right direction, and it really helped me.
That's super cool.
Do you want to know some of my work history?
Sure, as long as it doesn't take 3 weeks to go through it. Just kidding.
No, it won't. I'll just hit the high points, really.
Okay.
So those 2 jobs, and then I told you that when we were in Hero, we had to they had to change part of the way that they had normally done things because of me. Well, the reason why is because when I first started the class and they told us to get a job, I got a job at Target, but I was only seasonal. So at the end of the season, I didn't have any control over who they were keeping and who they weren't keeping, and I was one that got let go.
Okay.
Well, in Hero, you were supposed to keep the same job through the whole time. First, before I started working at Target, I was working at Barrow's Pizza.
Oh, I forgot you worked at Barrow's. That's like my favorite place for pizza ever. Anyway, go on.
Well, when I was working there, they wanted, you remember we could only work like 15 hours, 15 or 20 hours.
20,
They were giving me all of those hours in 2 days instead of breaking it up through the week.
Yeah.
Like giving me, I was working every weekend. So when I told Miss Glazer about it, I said, I can't work 10 hours a day, both Friday or Saturday and Sunday. I can't do that. And she called them and they said, well, we can't give her the 3-hour shifts or whatever. She has to do it on Saturday or Sunday. So that was the first thing they changed. she made me find a new job because I couldn't work throughout the week. They were only scheduling me for Friday or Saturday and Sunday. Then at Target, I worked the season, and then they laid off after that. I didn't have any control of that, so Miss Glazer had to do some research and found out that it wasn't a requirement that you stay at the same job as long as you work throughout the... So, yeah, that was something they didn't know. Oh. Then I started working at the daycare, and I worked at the daycare for a very long time.
I remember that.
I worked there all the way after graduation and into my first relationship. In fact, I was driving from all the way out on the west side to McClintock and Southern, or McClintock and Baseline, wherever that was, to go to work every day. It was a long-ass drive.
Yep, I know that. I know those long drives.
So I did that for a while, and I've had several different jobs, but I liked working at, the medical field was kind of where I was headed, and I went to school to take x-rays, and all that was great, but I don't know. I worked at the care center here, got my CNA license. I did medical assisting. I've had several jobs, but I like my job now. I like feeling like this is the perfect blend of office work mixed with being able to go out onto the floor. So it's a good position for me, even though I miss the care center because it touched my heart.
Well, and you're good at that.
I don't know. You're
good at that, the care center type stuff.
I am, but the care center was tough for me because it was always as much as I really loved it, that was the only job I ever had where the paycheck felt like the bonus. Like, I got to work with my grandparents every day. That was wonderful. But I didn't like, raising a family. It's really hard to go into work for 8 hours and then somebody not show up and them say, well, you're up to work the next 8 hours. You have to stay overnight.
I remember that.
It wasn't a choice. Yeah, so I had a lot of trouble with that. And that was a big deal. Anyway, but the job I have now, I really like it, and it's good. Yeah,
I'm fairly happy where I'm at, too. So, last episode, we talked about listening to some podcasts, and then we were going to give some feedback on them. So, I think we should do that now, because we're getting close to needing to wrap this up. So, my podcast that I was going to listen to for the week was called Anytown USA. And I did. That's right, I listened to 3 episodes, and I really, really liked it. The reasons I liked it was, one, I really like learning about the history of different things. I like learning about the history of different places, and this is definitely what they do. They drop. I'm not quite sure I can get a visual of how they do it, because they explain it in the episodes, but they take a pen and drop it on a state, and then they drop it again in that state to get the city, and then they do a bunch of research, and they come back with interesting facts about those areas. So for me, it was very interesting. I learned a few things about 3 different states, and I really liked it. Awesome. And I think that I will probably continue to listen to them. They don't really have weekly stuff. They've been kind of sporadic. They say that they're gonna, just because of schedules, they haven't been able to do it on a weekly basis, but they're trying to get there. So, work in progress. But I really did enjoy the podcast, and I do think that I will be listening more often to them. So
that's awesome.
Anytown USA, and I listen to them on Podbean. So anybody that wants to listen to them, and we follow them on Twitter, and I believe they follow us too. So
yeah, that's there was a couple of different ones that started following us, so I picked one that was right, at the same time that you and I decided we were going to do that. I just picked one right out of the air, and it was called This Could Get Awkward. With the way I did like their podcast, the only problem was that I didn't have a whole lot of time to listen to it fully. So I only hit bits and pieces of it. I'm still trying to listen to get to listen to it. I'm just not at my desk as often as I'd like to be. But from what I did hear, I really liked them. They basically take situations that they have and turn it in, or not turn it into, but things that have happened to them that got really awkward, or that they've heard of that got like a regular everyday thing that just got really uncomfortable. I like the premise. Did you listen to any of them?
I actually went on and I did listen to This Could Get Awkward too. And because I do have a lot of time at work, I can have my headphones in all day, and I am at my desk all the time. So I do have an opportunity to listen to quite a bit. So I did listen to This Could Get Awkward, and I listened to one of the episodes where it's two girls, and they had one of the girls, her boyfriend was a guest, and he told this really funny bathroom story. They talked about bathroom stories, and this bathroom story that happened to him, and I did really laugh out loud. It was pretty hilarious. I would have never guessed that a guy would do this in the bathroom, so that was new. And I didn't know that if you sat on the toilet long enough that your legs could go numb to the point where you cannot get up and walk. So I learned something new.
That's fantastic.
It was really
oh my
yes,
gosh.
It was really funny. It was a funny episode. It was one of their more recent episodes, so it was really funny. So they are definitely a good one to listen to if you want a good laugh, because they're pretty funny.
Yep. Well, I do have intent to listen to them, and like I said, I just was able to, like, every time I get started on one, I wind up having to stop and go do something and come back. So I really need to focus more on listening to them, like on the way to or from work, or when I'm going places. I now that you and I are doing a podcast, it's so much easier to pick and choose when I'm driving somewhere, because I don't know, it's just something that we do. My kids like them too. They listen. In fact, Katie and I, every time we go to the dentist office, which is 2.5 hours away, we listen to our podcast.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
So it's always fun.
That's cool.
So
I did also listen to an episode. Well, I listened to 2 episodes of Boar Meets World, and it's an episode of 2 guys. They have a wrestling podcast also, which was their first podcast, which I don't think that I will be listening to because I'm not really into wrestling. So sorry guys, but I'll listen to the Boar Meets World one because they talk about the episodes of the show Boy Meets World that was popular back in the 90s.
I love that show.
I really like that show too, and I've watched every single episode also. Well, in the first episode of Boar Meets World, they were talking, and one of the guys said that he had never seen the movie Goonies. And I literally said out loud, what the fuck? How do you not ever see the movie Goonies and be like around our age? Because that's like a movie, like a childhood movie that you know, and that my kids have even watched that movie. So I sent out a tweet to them saying, really? You've never seen Goonies? Is that even possible? Like, that's not even, it's like un-American to a certain point. That I'll definitely be listening to that one more often. They're kind of on a hiatus right now for scheduling reasons, but that's a very good one too. And I actually listened to the first 2 episodes, and then I went and watched the first episodes of Boy Meets World, so I could kind of go compare, go back and forth. So it was quite fun.
That's awesome. So I thought that this was a good idea. So I do plan on listening to This Could Get Awkward. I do plan on listening to them for the next time that we talk, but I think that we should pick a couple more.
Okay. And
I think that that's a good idea. What are your thoughts? Do you agree?
Oh, I definitely agree. It definitely, like I said, I have a lot of time at work that I could be listening to different podcasts, but I always tend to go back to the same couple ones that I'm always listening to. And it's always nice to listen to something different, something new. So I will definitely be listening to more of Anytown USA and more of Boar Meets World. I think another one that I want to kind of take a stab at is one I wrote down called Don't Take This Personal podcast. So
I think I wrote that one down too.
Yeah. I think I'm going to either that one, or I really kind of want to start listening to Best Forever's podcast, which is also
I've seen
another best friends podcast like ours. So
Yep.
I definitely want to listen to that. Either one of those, I think I might take a stab at.
Okay. Well, there was one other one that I did kind of turn on just because the name interested me, and it was called the Meddling Kids podcast.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And
we talked about that one.
Surprisingly enough, I don't know how you can find that much information about Scooby-Doo, but that's what it was. It was these people that, I mean, they talked about every single episode of Scooby-Doo, and that I always loved Scooby-Doo.
I did too, yeah.
So that was always fun too. So that was another one that I got to listen to just a couple. I did not get to listen to a full episode, but I got the premise of it, and they touch on every single one of the episodes.
Exactly, I know.
mean, every Scooby-Doo episode made, they basically break it down for you so you can hear it. I thought, and they have guest speakers and stuff. Whatever. But that was a good one.
Yeah, I also did listen to one episode of that one because you emailed me at work and told me to take a listen to it, and I listened to an episode of it, and it was funny because I'm listening to it and she's explaining the whole episode, and I can see the whole episode in my head. Like, as she's talking about it, like, I can remember that episode. I was like, oh my gosh, I remember that episode.
That's funny.
I think if there's, if I ever need something to listen to, which I don't know how in the podcast world that you are ever going to be out of anything to listen to because there's so many out there. But I would probably definitely, like, go through and pick an episode that was maybe one of my favorites from Scooby-Doo and listen to that episode.
Okay. All right. Well, then the next one that I'm going to try, listen to the, this could get awkward. I'll listen to that. I'm on their page right now on Twitter, and I'm seeing a prom picture.
I saw that too.
The caption, it talks about how it was how this horrible photo came up. So I do want to listen to that, but I also want to try Two Chicks in the Plural of Apocalypse. And so that will be the next one that I try and listen to.
What was it?
That
Two Chicks and what?
Two Chicks and the Plural of Apocalypse.
Okay.
I'm just going to go with that one for now.
Apocalypse.
And then APO.
I spelled it my own way. I'll know what it means.
Okay, there you go.
I'll know what it means.
All right then.
Okay, so I guess.
So this should be fun.
Yeah. I really like this idea. It'll be fun to just, listen to some new stuff. So anyway, I think we will wrap this up now since we've been going at it we're over an hour now.
Oh, well, there
See,
we
time
go.
flies when you're having fun. So, as usual, email us at spikedcoffeeandsarcasm@gmail.com. You can listen to us on Podbean, iTunes, Google Play, I'm missing one, Spotify. And we are on some other podcast apps. So whatever you listen to, just try and search for us and we're probably there. And you can follow us on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. We are on all three, Spike Coffee and Sarcasm. I don't know what our Twitter handle is. You know what it is. Coffee underscore something.
It's at coffee underscore the letter N sarcasm.
Okay.
And coffee and sarcasm.
Okay. And when this episode airs, we will try and remember. I'm saying this out loud so Chris can hear it, so we know that we.
And so I can write it.
Yeah, so you can write it down. When we put this episode out, we will tweet out the link and we will tag. I guess, do you call it tagging in Twitter, or I don't know what you call it?
Yes,
okay.
we'll tag
everybody that we said we listened to. So I have all that written down too. So we'll try and make sure that you guys know that we gave you a shout out on our podcast here.
Good night.
Bye. I did it again.
You're such a dork.
Okay, good night.